All right, thanks for tuning in to another edition of Our Lads Guide to the 2017 NFL Draft on the Prime Sports Radio Network for this Wednesday, the 3rd of May, 2017. It's a first of two-parter as we recap the 2017 NFL Draft with the AFC teams, beginning with Cleveland, and then we'll do the NFC teams tomorrow. Let's welcome in our draft analyst and our lads GM and national scout just back from Philadelphia from the NFL draft, Dan Shanka. So Dan, your old neck of the woods. You worked with the Eagles organization. You hadn't been back there covering the draft like this before. So it sure seemed like it was a lot of fun on TV.
Yeah, no, it was. I tell you, I think it's going to be a great thing for the NFL to move the draft around. And, hey, frankly, the fans, a lot of the blue-collar fans that helped build this league, you can't really afford to go to a Super Bowl because it's all corporate anymore, but you certainly can afford to go to the draft site, wherever it may be, because it's out of New York's hands now. So if they move it different places, fans can go there and they can see a lot of their favorite players are going to be drafted for their teams, and it's going to be I don't know if Philadelphia's going to have it again this next year, but I guess there was 24 teams that were there to see how Philadelphia did it, and they'll be making bids, I guess, on having their team out, for the draft. So, but Philadelphia did a great job on the Museum of Art there. It was everything was super organized. They shut down, you had certain lanes of people that could walk, certain places, but it was from the downtown area and stuff. It wasn't very far, but it was like I said, these people saw it on national TV. It was just fascinating how everything was done. So very, very positive. The NFL, I think, was super happy, and as was the city of Philadelphia as a great host.
Yeah, it was a lot different than Chicago the previous year. Chicago, it looked like more like just a regular festival, where Philadelphia, It was just a gathering. I mean, it was just crazy. I mean, everywhere you looked, there was mobs of people. So, yeah, that very interesting. And I hear one of my analysts told me a story about how the main reason why the NFL draft left New York wasn't necessarily because the NFL was just one day decided, hey, I think it's probably a good idea for us to go around the country. It was Dolan who owned, I guess he owned the rights maybe to Music City Hall dates and stuff like that. And that year that they delayed the draft a couple of weeks was because of Dolan, that he had booked events when they're supposed to be the NFL draft, and the draft had to wait a couple of weeks, and they kind of had it. They said, look, if you're not going to treat us the way we want to be treated, we'll go elsewhere. And that's what happened. So I'm sure that people in New York aren't happy about that. But hey, this is a good deal, and this is, you like the fact that, I mean, in New York it was kind of congested actually when you take a look at Chicago and Philly, especially Philly. Music City Hall is just a hall, where Philadelphia, it was just incredible with the amount of people, locations, and so forth. Okay, let's get right to it, and we'll start with Cleveland, and no big surprise, they go with Myles Garrett with the top pick. So let's talk about picks of interest. Jabril Peppers, he goes as their second pick. Let's talk about that. What did you think about Peppers, and with Greg Williams as the defensive coordinator, is this a good spot for him?
It is, because I tell you, Greg, he's going to be able to, I don't know if you remember, but they brought Mark Barron into the Rams to play that weak safety spot, or that's technically that hybrid linebacker, weak safety. Greg Williams called it the weak safety, but so I think that's where they're going to put Peppers. So they'll have three safeties on the field, and they can move him around, play a little press corner. They can keep him closer to the line of scrimmage. He'll be blitzing and things like that. So, no, they had a game plan for Peppers, and now they'll see if they can implement it by getting him in there. But very talented. In fact, they even said which, as you know, I was a big proponent of this. They said they're going to play him on offensive plays, and of course he'll be a return guy. So
nice.
They're going to get his money. They're going to get their money out of him.
Yeah, and then they get David Njoku, and we'll talk more about the Giants side of things tomorrow. But this was a no-brainer for them to wind up with Njoku at pick number 29.
Yeah, you can tell they released their starting tight end Barnage the next day after they drafted him. So I guess we know that where he's going to be playing, and he's got to improve his blocking. And he doesn't have natural hands, but he catches everything, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So no, he was a second-rated tight end in our mind. We didn't put Ingram in there. We put Ingram as a second or in another category. With Howard, and then Njoku would be next. So Ingram he's a big wide receiver that's going to be a move slot tight end combination hybrid guy. So actually, Njoku was the second best tight end out there.
And then they did get their quarterback, and considering that this is a pretty weak class of quarterbacks, even though it's still a second-round pick, number 52, considering where the other three quarterbacks went, not a bad spot to get a guy. And I got to really believe, and I know, a lot of times analysts look at quarterbacks like Cody Kessler, guys that are not first-round picks, that don't have a lot of experience, and they just dismiss them automatically. Well, I wonder whether this is a combination of things, and maybe one of the factors is Hugh Jackson wants to give Cody Kessler a shot, and, why not pick Kaiser in this role? But, no reason to think that Kessler's not going to be starting on opening day.
Right. No, you're exactly right. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think Kessler will be starting opening day unless, he gets some sort of injury in camp or something. But, no, you're exactly right. And he did do some good things last year. And so I think, hey, the battle still might come down between Osweiler and Kessler. So, I'm not going to rule Osweiler out yet. Now, maybe they have in their own minds, but my understanding is he's not out of it yet. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here over during OTAs and things.
All right. Now, what do you think? What do we know about this kid from Charlotte, Ogunjobi, the defensive tackle? Because you kind of look at it and you're like, well, round 3, pick 1. That's almost a second-round pick from a kid from Charlotte, defensive tackle. So what do you think about that? Were you surprised at all, or do you think that was a pretty good position or spot in the draft for him to land?
Well, I tell you what, as 65th player in the draft, I thought that was pretty strong for him. But I tell you, he started 4 years there. He was very productive. I think it all depends on how you use him. And see, Greg Williams likes to rotate a lot of defensive linemen.
Okay. And
I think that's what, his position is. Really a good rotate guy. He can play a little bit of end, move inside, be that under tackle in their scheme, and then be a nickel rusher from the nose tackle or the inside spot. So, as long as, he hasn't played with guys he's going to see, though. You always kind of wonder about when you're playing a lower level of competition, what's going to happen when you're playing with men that got children that are going to rip your head right off and punch you, every time with their big, strong hands up front.
Yeah.
So we'll see how he competes, but he is an athletic guy.
All right. And then Caleb Brantley goes with the first pick in the 6th round, and he would have been more like a 3rd or 4th round guy, but being charged with battery a week before the draft, that you can't figure this. You can't figure these kids out. So nobody knows what's going to go on there. They ended with Zane Gonzalez, who actually was the second kicker picked, even though he was your top kicker.
Right.
And then Matt Days is not a bad pick with round 7. No reason to think that Days doesn't fit in perfectly with what Hugh Jackson wants to do. He likes guys that can do an awful lot of everything, sort of like a backup to Duke Johnson.
Yeah, no, and the only stain on that draft in my mind was drafting Brantley. I don't know why you draft him. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You could have got him as a free agent if you wanted to. I wasn't shot in the behind with him like a lot of people were because, he was always, initially he looked good, but then he never finished. And so, I mean, and he has an injury, a little bit of an injury history and stuff. I don't know. Like I said, I thought that was way, everybody talking about him up in the, we had him third, fourth round area, I guess, and then other people were talking. I mean, when I heard somebody say he's the first rounder, I'm going to go, man, where are you getting your information? What tapes are you looking at? But anyway, if they wouldn't have drafted him and went with somebody else, I think that would really been a clean draft all the way through. But nevertheless, hey, it's probably one of the top 3 or 4, drafts this year.
Okay, all right. So you like the Cleveland Browns draft, and that's good news for Browns fans because the Browns.
Hey, Greg, let me throw this out too. I don't mean to interrupt you, but
sure.
One guy we didn't talk about.
Sure.
And I tell you what, Joe Thomas.
Okay.
Is fading a little bit. I mean, I hate to say it because I love Joe, but age and time is catching up with him. And then they drafted Roderick Johnson, from Florida State, who is he's got all the numbers. He's athletic. He's this. He's that. The thumbs are up, but he didn't always, look. He didn't always play to his potential every play. But he's got talent. I mean, he's got long arms. He's got. He's athletic. He's a good kid. Everything I've talked about, different people, he says he's a great kid and all that. And if he comes along, which they brought him in to, like I said, Joe can't play forever.
Yeah.
But this guy, I think they certainly brought Roderick Johnson in as a swing tackle, and then maybe eventually work into that left tackle spot. So that's another guy that was a plus for. I had him at the top of the third round.
Yeah.
So, he's a good player too.
And he gets to learn under Joe Thomas. And, guy that was the best, got the award for the best offensive lineman in the ACC the last 2 years, playing left tackle for probably the best program at Florida State. So,
right. So, that was another really plus there.
All right. So Cleveland, one of your favorite drafts, and that's definitely a question I'll be asking you both today and tomorrow for the AFC teams and the NFC teams. What about free agency-wise? They grabbed this DB Stribling because we're also going to throw in the top free agent players. What about them being able to get Stribling as a free agent?
Yeah, that was a great pick. And they also got another of my favorite, Carter Schultz from Northern Iowa. And, see, the thing is, why wouldn't you draft Carter Schultz, who here's a guy that's high motor, great effort, super smart guy, was runner-up in the academic Heisman, ultra productive, and just a great human being. Then you take a guy like Caleb Brantley, that's just stupid. That's just stupid. You know what I mean? And so anyway.
By the way, Dan, how does it work with the free agents? Do they have any idea before the draft ends which guys are interested to play for them?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had my ducks all in a row before the end of the draft. I mean, there's guys that I wanted to get drafted. If they didn't get drafted, I wanted to make sure that, they talk to me before they do anything else,
Now, do you talk to them before the draft is over?
Yes.
Okay. And that's allowed. That's all allowed. You guys can talk to whoever. Everybody can talk to anybody they want during the draft.
Yeah. I mean, you actually work it 2 weeks ahead of time.
Okay.
Even just saying, hey, again, you don't know what happens. You say you don't know, but we want you. We want you to, if something happens, we can't draft you. We want to be one of your teams that you're certainly considering,
Sure.
And so, yeah, no, and I don't, like I said, I don't know if the rules changed since I hadn't been scouting the last 10 years in the league. I don't know if that's changed any, but no, you always had your ducks in a row, before the draft was over. And then if you didn't draft them, hey, you got all your phones in front of you ready to go, talking to their agent and to them. I worked a lot with the players.
Okay.
Because they, I could sell a player. Well, I'm not into politics and deals. I'm into getting football players that can play. You know what I mean? And if they didn't, hey, I'll tell you what, and I don't want to, beat this point to death or anything right now, but I mean, I've had plenty of guys that I had lined up to come, and their agent pulled them, and the kids never signed anywhere. so they got screwed by their agent. You know what I mean?
Huh.
So and then I had one other guy. I said, hey, I'm the only one that ever talked to you before this draft, and I said this other team didn't even know who in the heck you were, and well, the agent said I should sign. I said, fire your agent, and the kid did. You know what I mean? And I ended up signing him. So
okay,
you know, I just and the kid made our team, by the way. So then I had other people call back, kids that didn't go our way and went to another team. They said, well, this team promised me a $50,000 bonus if I made their 50-man rounds roster. I said, you know what that means? I can tell you right now, you're not going to make their roster.
There you go.
You're not going to put, you know, that 50,000 is done. And you know what? The kid it happened to, he called me. They got cut. So they can I said, there's no place for you.
Yep.
You know?
That's a shame.
But anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, kids do stupid stuff, and
of course,
you know. But fortunately, I didn't have a lot of that. But
no, it happens when they even come to play. They decide to come to the draft when they shouldn't even be there, and they get persuaded and they get the wrong advice. Were you surprised, or do you think there wasn't really? Because you did have a little bit of an edge with Zane Gonzalez over Jake Elliott as the top kicker. So, is there a significant enough difference in your mind?
Well, I tell you what, I know what happened is, you know, the kicking coaches work the guys out, and then which is crazy. I mean, you got to look at all the numbers and things and their ability to kick off and things like that. But in my mind, they were both pretty close. Okay. And so, hey, they're both at the Senior Bowl. You could have saw them, you know, head to head there. So, I mean, I went with Gonzalez over Elliott, but hey, they were both pretty close.
All right. And really, if you look at it, the only position that I think Cleveland did not go after that I thought they would, with the exception of Howard Wilson, so if Howard Wilson can be a good contributor for them, then that's okay, but that would be cornerback. But they did draft Wilson in the 4th, and they did add a player in the back 7 with Peppers. But I was thinking that cornerback position, in case Hayden doesn't stay healthy, is right now the one position that you would think next year they'll try to take care of. So
right, and but you know, guys like Stribling will help, and they'll bring, you know, that's
good spot for him.
So many good corners out there that there's going to be some guys that those free agents are going to make it and contribute.
Yeah, and Cleveland's got money to spend anyway, so they could always sign a free agent. When they start getting better next year, if all goes well. All right, let's talk about Cincinnati and the Bengals. Maybe a little bit of a surprise that they went wide receiver with their first pick. Maybe they were targeting Fournette or McCaffrey, and they were gone, so they went with Ross. We talked about, you know, did they need a receiver? Well, they didn't just draft one; they drafted 2. They drafted John Ross in the 1st, and they drafted Josh Malone in the 4th, which looked like a little bit of a reach, even though they have Cody Core and Tyler Boyd from last year, and, of course, A.J. Green. And I'm starting to wonder if this is a sign that they're going to be moving on from A.J. Green soon, loading up on so many receivers. So what do you think about the Ross move, first of all?
Well, I think they needed help. You know, I like Cody Core, who was there last year, and he really came on at the end of the year. But, you know, Ross gives him that big speed. I mean, he's the fastest guy in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
So they got the fastest guy there to clear for A.J. Green, and we'll open some things up there because, hey, even if you put John Ross out wide, tape his arms to his side, you're going to have him probably double covered because he can run so fast, right? Well, you know, now that's going to open up A.J. Green and the tight end and all their multiple formations. So, I thought that was a little strong for Ross, but then again, hey, God only makes so many fast guys, and he's one of them. So I understand that. And then I tell you, Josh Malone, if he can stay healthy at Tennessee, it's all ahead of him. But I still like Cody Core, a guy they drafted last year that lasted in the 6th round, and he looked pretty good late in the year. And so they're going to have quite a crew there of receivers.
Yeah, and of course Malone, another speed guy, nowhere near as fast as Ross, but that's why he lasted to the 4th round instead of the 1st round. Still a 4.42 guy. Joe Mixon, the biggest non-shocker of the draft, going to the Bengals. Boy, this is just a running joke now with this organization and these types of players. So nobody knows what to expect. But I guess if Joe Mixon stays out of trouble, then okay, I guess it winds up being a decent pick. But who knows?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I was when we were working on the mock draft, I just told the guys, go ahead, we just need to probably put Mixon right in there because that's where he's going to go.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They end up not putting him there. But like I said,
learned a
lesson.
lesson.
Going to Green Bay. So, but anyway, I figured that's where he go, and you know what? Hey, he might end up being the best running back in this draft. Who knows?
Yeah, well, they needed a running back. We knew that. We talked about it. They don't like Jeremy Hill. He could be gone after the year. Bernard coming off the injury. So, but Mixon's it. So if he gets in trouble or anything happens there, then it's back to the drawing board next year. As far as the rest of the draft, they did wind up. It looks like they got pretty fortunate with their third and fourth picks, especially Jordan Willis overall at pick number 73, a guy that we wouldn't have been shocked if he went late in the first round.
Right. I tell you, I was stunned. There's another guy. Here's a top quality football player that runs well. He'll pressure off the edge. You can't say enough good things how hard this guy works. And he landed in this third round, and I'm wondering, man, I can't hardly stand it anymore the way I see some of these guys where they landed. I got like fish hooks in my eyes. You know what I mean? My eyes are bleeding from this stuff. And but anyway, great pick for the Bengals, and he'll contribute. A very explosive edge guy, and then then they brought Evans in, and they Carl Lawson. And if Lawson stays healthy, he'll contribute as an outside guy. And so,
what do you think about J.J. Dielman? Because I've said this for the last couple of years. Russell Bodine is not a very good starting center. He's just a player, even at best. I mean, the guy just consistently just doesn't grade well. So do you think Dielman is the type of guy that could take his job in the next year or two?
Yeah, see, he was always a tackle, and then they moved him, when they got Bowles and TV out there to help, and then they had Asiata at one of the guards. That they felt like if they put Dielman at center, that'd make him stronger, which it did, and then he got hurt, partway through the season. But what he is, Greg, I think he's going to end up being a swing guy for him. But,
okay.
Yeah, if they leave him at center, I think that he'll have a shot to win that job.
And Glasgow. What do you think about him as he's on a team now that if they've got the injuries last year from Billings and Hardison, interior guys. Of course, Pecco is gone, which is a good thing. They do have Pat Sims, but what about Glasgow?
Yeah, he again is, and I know I say a lot of these guys are some of my favorite players, but when you watch tape, again, he's not a sexy pick or anything. He just does his job. He's a tough guy that plays hard every down, very physical, and he's just really a tough nut football player that you love to have on your team. So he'll fit in good in that rotation.
And then this was the team that picked the kicker first, Elliott. So he is now a Cincinnati Bengal. Okay, let's move on to the Baltimore Ravens. And Ravens go with a player from Alabama. We kind of thought, well, maybe this would be a spot for Reuben Foster, another Alabama player. It winds up being Marlon Humphrey. So no big surprise. We kind of figured the cornerback spot there. What do you like, or give me the lowdown on Tyus Bauer, because this is a team, and really, if you look at it, we knew that the Ravens were going to need some more pass rushers, more pressure guys, and picks 2, 3, and 4, all about pressure: Bowser, Wormley, and Williams, especially Williams and Bowser.
Yeah, and Bowser is a very athletic, rangy linebacker that can blitz and can really run and everything. And I heard a lot of things that he was moving up the boards, but we didn't move our guys just because we grade them where we see them graded. I don't care about all this, other stuff, that the reason people move them up and all that. And so we had him, toward the bottom of the second round, and he was a guy that ended up going in the middle of the second round. But he can cover, he can run. He can be a weak side, run and hit linebacker. He can use him as a blitzer. So he's a tough guy that is a multiple purpose, versatile linebacker.
Okay. And of course, Tim Williams, it's all about also red flags, right? I mean, if the red flags go away, then this could be a really good pick for them. So where they got him, that was about right, third round?
Yeah, right, exactly. Because all he is really, Greg, is a pass rusher.
Yeah.
He doesn't play the run very well. He's wide. He's out in a 9 technique. He comes screaming off the edge. And he also made Forrest Lamp a heck of a lot of money because Forrest Lamp ran him up the field the Alabama game, and Tim Williams didn't do anything but stop. So, I'm not a big Tim Williams guy. I know he's a good pass rusher, but I like the other kid on the other side, number 22, a whole lot better.
All right, and what did you think last year? Of course, they had to play a lot of Vlad Dukas, which is not what you want to do with the injuries, and they also see the thing right now that I'm a little bit concerned with Baltimore is we had to figure that they were going to do something on the offensive line, especially at tackle. But I'm starting to think now by going out and getting these two guards, Siragusa and Elam Manure, that I don't know. Does Alex Lewis go to right tackle?
I don't believe so. I think they're going to leave him there, and because I think they recognize Siragusa as more of a developmental guy, and actually he's kind of out of the scheme that he's not really a zone blocker. He's a man blocking guy, and they're in a zone scheme, so it may take him a little while to learn. As will Elam Manure from Texas A&M. He's only really played a year. And he was a JC guy, and he's from England and this and that. So he's not naturally instinctive, but he's a pretty good athlete. And I think he's a guy that he might even. I mean, Siragusa will have more of a handle on things, but Elam Manure will be he may end up starting ahead of Siragusa, but
okay.
And like I said, they still need to get a right tackle. But you know what? They got a new offensive line coach there, so maybe they'll shuffle them all around. Maybe Lewis will end up being that right tackle.
Yeah, either that or you never know. I mean, there's still time to pick up or make a deal to get a veteran player in there. James Hurst just hasn't been able to get things going yet. I was also surprised they didn't go after a wide receiver.
Yes. That's one that shocked me too. That I thought that they would bring him, and I didn't see. We don't. I want to see the official free agent lists and things like that because, like Philadelphia paid all kinds of money to KD Cannon. I think they gave him like a $35,000 bonus. So I don't know if Baltimore end up signing anybody yet or not. Until we get the official stuff from the NFL, I don't get too shot in the behind.
Oh, so KD Cannon went to the Eagles.
Yes.
I don't know why did I see? Did I see he went to the? They said he listed him with the Niners. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, that's why we don't print anything till we get it from the league because I thought I saw yesterday that he ended up going to the Eagles, but I could be wrong about that, Greg.
Okay.
I thought
Yeah, I think I got it. I believe I got it off of NFL.com. So you would hope that they would have it right. But anyway, the point is made. Pittsburgh.
Well,
go ahead.
They get it from the agents. And last year there's an agent, there's some agents saying their guys had, they're telling them with two different teams. So that's why we get it from the league. I usually, don't comment.
You don't wait till
anyway.
It's official. Sure, I
Right.
get it. All right, let's go to Pittsburgh. And, Pittsburgh did a pretty good job. You take a look at the fact that they were able to get themselves a nice pass rusher at the end of the first round in Watt. They were able to get a running back, a local guy, James Conner, that if he's healthy could be a very good number two. Of course, D'Angelo Williams is gone. We talked about Le'Veon Bell needing to get some reps off, so he's not 95% snaps during the season. Is not a good idea. And then you just took a look at the picks and the players, and there's a lot of talent there from Watt to Juju Smith to Cameron Sutton to James Conner. And then even to be able to go out and get Dobbs, again, I don't know whether or not he's ever going to transform into a starter. I doubt that. But to get him in the fourth round, that's about where he was supposed to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that he just got to stay healthy. But I'll tell you what, he may end up growing into a defensive end because he's still a growing boy. So, we'll see what happens there. But no, Watt, that was he went about where he's supposed to go.
Yep.
I'm glad to see Connor get, he'll be that inside pounder, and man, he loves to. He's happy as heck that he's going to be in Pittsburgh, and but I thought Pittsburgh did a pretty good job of filling in some spots, with Smith-Schuster.
It was the only reason Connor, like in your mind, could have went later than 3 because of the cancer. Was there any other reason?
Well, just the load of running backs. There's so many running backs, and he didn't really run that fast.
No.
So he probably landed. We had him a little bit lower than where he got drafted. Mm-hmm. So, I think that that was probably about where he was because his speed. He's not a speed guy. He's a power runner, and but he landed in the right spot.
Oh, absolutely. And give me your best guess on whether you think Joshua Dobbs is going to end up being a starter in this league. I say no, but these are things we don't know about. The coaching where he was at Tennessee, is he a guy that can be coached up?
Well, I think he's a very coachable kid, but I'm with you. Till he gets his footwork and accuracy down, I don't see him ever being a starter. I see him being a backup guy at best.
All right, let's go next to the New York Jets, and we'll do a Jets show. Get your take next week. Boy, Jamal Adams, you probably had to know how I was feeling when Jamal Adams went to the Jets. I couldn't have been more happier. And I said on the Jets Confidential show, well, that's it. I don't care what they do the rest of the draft. I'm a happy Jet fan. But what did you think about Marcus May? Because he was a guy that was looking like he was going to be a first-round guy heading at the end of the 2015 season. Has the injury, doesn't have maybe the big year that he had in 2015, but the versatile guy that I think Todd Bowles really wants with his team because he wants to run 5 DBs, and I think Marcus May's the type of guy that will allow that.
Yeah, well, also Adams, but before I head into this, I want to make a correction because I did see now that you were right. KD Cannon they did sign with 49ers, so
okay.
That was a good pick for them. But anyway, well, May, you see, you're playing 3 safeties out there anyway.
Yeah. Yep.
Because of all the base offenses the way they are, and Adams is your wild card. You put him anywhere you want to, and then May, you hunker him in there. He can play close, or he can play off the line of scrimmage. So again, yes, you're right. He was a first round guy till that injury, and then with all these other ones that came out and things like that, he got pushed down a little bit. But no, he's a very talented guy. And of course, obviously the Jets you saw were prior, they didn't sign him his option year, so they're going to get another safety in there.
Yeah, and look, and sometimes that's the way you're supposed to do it, and it's up to Pryor to perform. And if he performs, then they could always bring him back. But it's just up to him now. What did you think about which pick did you like better, Stewart, Hansen, or Leggett?
Oh boy, I tell you what, I love Stewart. He runs great after catching. When you see him in person, he's built like a running back, and I always like those kind of guys. Hansen catches everything. I was surprised he came out because he had that ankle injury part of the year. And then Leggett, they got him at the right price.
Yes.
No question about it.
Yep.
So he's going to be the starting tight end, I would think. He's going to go in there as long as he learns quickly and everything, and 2 tight end packages and all that. He'll be the guy. So I really like Stewart. And I would probably say Stewart because I had him graded the highest of those 3.
Okay.
But and then we had Hansen, then we had Leggett. But I think that I really believe that Stewart again is going to make some real noise this year. And
where would you think the possibilities would have been draft wise for Jeremy Clark had he stayed healthy?
Oh, pretty good. He was another one we were debating back and forth, and we'll have a write-up on him in our I did not put him in the guide because of the injury and things like that, but, he's a big corner, and he can press and beat you up and all that. It was kind of interesting the way the Jets win here because they also took a corner that we basically wrote off, and he ran real good, had a good workout, so they drafted him, with the 204th pick, Derek Jones.
Okay.
He's a workout guy,
Okay.
and then Jeremy Clark is, he's not going to be able to play this year,
Sure.
unless he's, so, they're taking real crapshoots on those guys, but over guys that are pretty good players that didn't get drafted. So, I'll tell you right now, Bridges is a better corner than Jones, from Mississippi, but he didn't run as fast, so they take Jones. I don't understand it, but
yeah, that's
the
what
way it
happens.
goes.
Yeah, they
Yep.
fall in love with the
workout
measurables.
guys.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay, Miami. Now, I tell you, I didn't really like the Dolphins draft, to tell you the truth. Some of these guys are okay. The first couple guys are okay, but I'm not wowed by them. Harris seems like a one-dimensional guy. I think McMillan's a one-dimensional guy myself. Opposite, McMillan Harris more of a pass rusher. I know what you think about Tankersley, so I didn't really get it overall with this draft. I think maybe that they get some help, but I don't see any star power here. I'm not blown away.
Now, the guy that I really like, though, I guess I'm a little stronger on McMillan than you are, but I really I like and then the other inside guy I like didn't go to the 5th round, Walker from Northwestern.
Yeah.
But I had all those guys kind of bunched. McMillan, Cunningham was on top of them. Jared Davis from Florida was up, above those guys. But boy, McMillan and Walker are really good linebackers, and I think McMillan, he's gonna, he'll be a starter and really contribute. I think he's a terrific guy, but they got him in the middle of the 2nd round.
So you think he's, but he can play every down, McMillan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You know what? He covers better than I think you think. Now, unless something happens and they get some real mismatches with him, he should be okay.
Okay.
But he's a run stuffer first, and then he's a coverage guy. And then, like you said, Harris is one-dimensional. He's a big-time pass rusher, and if you stop his spin move, you neutralize him. Though he's he's not a defensive end. He's got to play that outside linebacker. So and then the other guys, they brought a couple defensive linemen like Godchalk and Taylor that are just kind of rotate blue collar kind of guys. And then Ford, he didn't run as well. Now he caught the ball well at Virginia Tech, but that speed was a problem there. And then Asiata will be competing for a guard job.
Wasn't it something? We talked about these Virginia Tech players, the 3 of them, that all came out early, and none of them should have, and none of them got drafted high.
Right.
The
quarterback didn't get drafted.
Yeah.
Evans.
That's it. Yeah. Didn't even get drafted, and Isaiah Ford barely got drafted. So they got some. I don't know if anybody was giving them advice, but why they didn't stay another year and try to win an ACC championship would have been a good idea. But okay. And one thing McMillan is definitely going to do, and he's going to bring them some attitude on that defense. Yeah. Not that they don't already have some of it, but they needed to get a little younger, and McMillan's got that attitude type of linebacker role that every team really covets. Okay, so that is Miami. Let's now take a look at Buffalo and the Bills draft. I tell you what, I take a look at the one that's most interesting for me is Peterman, because they were able to get him in the 5th round. And here's a guy that I think, when you take a look at some of the other quarterbacks after the top 4, and then you usually talk about backups and stuff, but Peterman's one of those guys that seems to have the better chance of definitely being a backup and maybe even potentially a starter. So to get him at round 5 when the Niners went after C.J. Beathard in the 3rd, I think that's a great situation for the Bills.
It is. I was shocked that Peterman lasted so long. But, hey, he went in the right spot for him. He takes snaps under center. He's very consistent. I really thought that was a very good pick. And I like the Dawkins pick, offensive guard. We got him at guard, and he'll go in there and start. Yeah, a really good, tough kid. And then I love the Zay Jones. Zay Jones is hey, he's going to start for them, and he's going to be an excellent player. So they got a great one there. And of course, I like White too, the corner from LSU, end up going to the bottom of the first round.
Yep.
So
mm-hmm.
yeah, they got 2 second-round picks. They're going to start for him, Zay Jones and Dawkins. So yeah, the other guys like Vallejo from Florida State, I think. See, they got special things in mind for him and Milano. Milano's small too. I mean, geez, he's like 219 pounds, and Vallejo is not very big either, and he was injured a lot at Boise. And I tell you what, I don't know if you remember last year, there was a big push toward the end of the draft last year for that Korea guy. He moved up from from like 6th to the second round or second round, whatever it was. And they can't get him on the field at Baltimore, but he was an outside pass rusher. Baltimore tried to stick him inside, to get a linebacker in there, and he can't do it. I mean, right now he's way behind, and I just don't. The Vallejo kid, I mean, there was actually a better linebacker at Boise, a kid named Weaver, who was making plays all over the field while Vallejo was in the tub or getting ice on his knee, or something. So that's the way it is, I guess.
But it was 6th round. So,
right.
if you're going to have any questionable picks, and who knows, maybe he's also a guy that, I mean, when you go down, starting 5th round, 5th, 6th, 7th round, those guys have got to participate on special teams.
Right.
So.
And they will.
Yeah.
I think those guys will.
Is Dawkins going to play right tackle?
No, well, I think they're going to plug him in at guard, I believe. Now, unless, you know what? Now, I take that back because,
I mean, they have Incognito and Miller.
I think they're going to see what happens, to be honest with you. Because they got a new offensive line coach in there, Juan Castillo, and he came from Baltimore. And I think he's probably going to work because I tell you what, Juan I worked with Juan with the Eagles, and he likes athletic, tough guys. Okay, and he might, and I think right now they would put him at maybe right tackle. He's better than Jordan Mills. He's better than Henderson.
Oh, yeah.
But I think eventually, I mean, Juan's going to have the best 5 out there. I think he'd like to kick him into guard is what he'd like to do. But I think he's going to have to see who his best 5 are. And then right now, he'd probably put him at tackle.
Well,
Incognito. We wrote him as a guard.
Well, Incognito is going to be 34 this year. So even though he's playing well, he's only got a couple years left, and maybe that is the overall plan. But we'll see. We'll see if he ends up starting at right tackle. I'm sure he's going to get a chance because you named some of those players that don't inspire. Okay, let's go to the Patriots. And the Patriots, of course, traded a lot of their early picks. But even though they did that, and it's not, you could say, the Patriots, and they actually got some good sleepers, and it's typical Patriots. Well, it's actually not. I mean, the Patriots aren't this great draft team every year. But this seemed like a good draft for them. 4 players. And it seemed like they got a couple of guys that really could have been picked a little earlier. And all these guys, well, actually the top 3 guys we talked a lot about. Derek Rivers gives them the pass rushing that the Patriots can use. Garcia has got the ability to be one of the top tackles in the draft. We talked a lot about Wise. He's a perfect fit for the Patriots. And then you even graded Connor McDermott a lot higher than the 6th.
Right. And I tell you, see, and I don't know, Greg, you got a great memory, and you might remember this, but their tackle Solder, I was the only one that talked about him being a first-round guy when he came out. He was tall, remember, 6'7", 6'8". And I like him better than Connor, but Connor can bend. He's got good feet. He's an athletic guy. And Dante Scarnecchia, their offensive line coach, that he's back again for like his 44th year or something coaching. I mean, he likes those athletic guys that can bend, and I mean, he's more of a right than a left, but the kid has got some talent. And then, the reason you got to really say their draft was really good is because they brought in 7 players with draft choices, like Coney Ely and all those guys that they traded picks for, and they brought those guys. They bring in 7 veteran guys for their draft picks. But
Yep.
you don't know what those draft picks are going to do. So
That's right.
there you go.
And by the way, Solder's a free agent after the year.
Yep.
And also Marcus Cannon, if they wanted to, they could move him inside. So
Yes.
they've got options, and it makes sense for them to go after these two tackles. So even though, because Cannon has actually been working out well for them at tackle, but he could always move inside the guard if they want to make room for Garcia or even McDermott down the road. All right, so the Patriots, and by the way, what's the upside of Derek Rivers? Is he a limited upside, or what kind of a role? Just a part-time role?
Well, hey, everybody seems to be a part-time role in
yeah.
New England.
Yes, that's true.
They have a specific role, but his would be pass rusher. He's a very good pass rusher. He's got to play hard every single down. He always did do that. He was a man playing with boys in the Missouri Valley at Youngstown. But nevertheless, his big thing will be a pass rusher. I don't know, will they try to get him in there for Ninkovich? Because he's getting a little long in tooth, and everything. But, yeah, his role will be that of a pass rusher. As well, Wise. I mean, Wise is, like I said, hey, this guy is as good as he wants to be. And when he was at the East-West, he was a monster. And in the game, he should have got the most valuable defensive player. Hendrickson got it. But, I mean, he made 7 tackles, 2 sacks, batted down balls. He was all over the place. And if he plays like that for New England, look out.
Yeah, I mean, when we talked about Wise, I actually, when I did my Patriot report that we posted on your site, Dietrich Wise was on the list because we talked about him being a perfect fit for the Patriots. So, not a surprise. And, these guys will make it work for the Patriots. Now, what about a couple of free agents? We also talked a lot about some of the depth at receiver, and that the Patriots were destined to get one of these clones, these Julian Edelman clones, and they sure enough got one. They didn't draft one, but they got one in Austin Carr, who you thought could have ended up as a free agent, and he did. So he goes to the Patriots. And then the tight end that I talked about that I like, Jacob Hollister from Wyoming, goes to the Patriots, which, by the way, is the perfect place for him with that team. So hopefully he'll make it and won't make me look stupid. But what about Carr? Because he had such a great year last year for Northwestern.
Here's a guy that was the Big Ten Receiver of the Year, runs great routes, quick in and out of his cuts. Does that kind of sound like an Amendola, Wes Welker, Edelman? Catches everything. I don't know if he had a drop last year, and the thing that he does the best, besides being quick and he's smart and all that stuff, he catches the ball in traffic like he catches the ball coming out of a car wash. It's just, I don't know how he does it, but he focuses on that ball, and there can be, 2 guys crossing in front of him, and the ball gets through there, and he'll catch it. It's unbelievable. I mean, this guy is, plus he's such a great kid, hard worker, smart. And there's another one. Why do you draft a slappy who's got gun and drug charges, and then here's a guy like this that's a free agent? You know what? Screw it. You take the best player. You take Austin Carr.
All right. Next up, the Chargers. And, the Chargers gave Phillip Rivers an opportunity finally to give him some weapons. Of course, when you lose Keenan Allen, like they did last year, was that a huge drop-off. So, and the Travis Benjamin signing we thought was going to work out for him, but you got to believe that because Keenan Allen wasn't there, it had to really affect Travis Benjamin. So now you bring in Mike Williams, you've got Keenan Allen coming back, and Travis Benjamin, and all of a sudden Phillip Rivers has got to be going, with Melvin Gordon in the backfield, and Hunter Henry as a coming on tight end soon. I finally have the weapons I want for the next few years before I start slowing down myself. So, boy, the Mike Williams pick was a good one for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you got maybe some blocking for him and Forrest Lamp and Feeney. That's
needed
always
that.
a plus.
Yeah.
And Tebby from Utah, who is I thought he would be a guard, and they drafted him as a guard. So those 3 might end up being rotating guards in there. But the other guy, they absolutely stole. I mean, like I said, I sat back and looked at some of these guys and wonder, what do scouts really do out there? Because see, I'm one of the few that can criticize scouts because I know those guys. I know what they're doing out there. And some of these guys are out there drinking at the bar and going to strip clubs instead of evaluating talent. Because Desmond King, for him to go in the 5th round, and I don't care if he ran 4.55. You know what I mean? His arms are a little bit short. He's the best tackling corner in this draft. He's going to go in there and start for the Chargers.
Yeah, because the that was a big weakness for them. They needed some help in that secondary, and they get both Jenkins and King, and they actually got King after Jenkins.
Yep.
So
yeah. I mean, it just, I don't know.
Well, they did a good job last year in the draft too, Chargers. So
they did.
You start putting a couple of good drafts back to back when you have a franchise quarterback, and watch out. And now, of course, they have a new staff, so this could be a very interesting team this season. All right, next up is Denver, and a lot to talk about with Denver. Now, big surprise, they went with the tackle. That was no shock. I know we all know that they would have loved to have found a way to get McCaffrey, but that didn't happen, so they got the tackle. We also thought maybe tight end, but they didn't get the tight end there, but that's okay because they wound up getting Jake Butt in the 5th round, and we know if Jake Butt stays healthy, he's going to be around for an awful long time, so that is potentially a great move there. And then one of our favorite players, they pick number 51, DeMarcus Walker, already with that defense. Just imagine how he's going to help him out. So those are really those 2 picks right there, DeMarcus Walker and Jake Butt, especially Walker with 51.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Bowles is a tough guy now. He only played 1 year major college football, but, he's got a nasty attitude. He's big, he's strong, he's physical. He's where he wanted to go. He wanted to go to Denver, and then Butt, like you said, he comes back from the knee. He's a big time tight end. And then they got a couple. They got the wide receiver Carlos Henderson, who's really an explosive guy. And then they took Chad Kelly, the last pick of the draft, which they could have got him as a free agent probably because he's got so many problems and now injuries and stuff. You don't know, but anyway, it is what it is. But
do you think that was almost like Elway being a quarterback, knowing, because we all know the kid's got talent. We also know he's got some issues besides the injuries. Do you think that was almost like, hey, you know what? This is probably the perfect spot to grab Mr. Irrelevant, because in a way he's got to be embarrassed. A guy like Chad Kelly to get Mr. Irrelevant, and maybe that's the kind of motivation he needs. Maybe that'll help him out.
That's a good point. And the funny thing is, John Elway came out and said, well, I called his uncle, Jim, and he said he's a good kid. Well, I know one thing, there's a lot of people out there that are going to say he's not a good kid, so. Yeah. But, but, hey, we'll see what it is, and hey, John can do what he wants. I think John's done a great job out there.
Yes.
And, hey, he can do what you want to do. He's the head guy. So, but anyway, they had a good draft. I mean, I liked it. And then the other guy, now we only gave him a priority free agent grade. Knew he was going to get drafted because he could fly. But Isaiah McKenzie's he's a 4.43, 4.39, 4.38 guy. And usually those guys get drafted somewhere, but he's out of Georgia, and so anyway. Then Langley's a developmental corner. Now here's the guy I don't understand. Now Langley is not near the corner, not even close as Desmond King. Not even the same. And he goes ahead of King by 2 rounds.
And why do you think that was? I mean,
I have no idea.
Because he runs faster.
Just a workout guy. Well, Langley's fast. Yeah, he's faster. And that's about it.
Yeah, 1 year starter too.
Yep.
And that's at Lamar. So
Lamar.
That's at Lamar. And I think didn't they trade up to get McKenzie, I believe.
I think you're right. Yes.
And he's only 5'7", even though like you said.
Oh, he's a little peanut now. Yeah. He might get lit up the first time. Might lose the desire to play football.
What did Carlos Henderson have a better time like on his pro day because he ran the 4.52? Because you have the combine times and measurables in the guide, correct?
Yes.
So did he run faster, or is he just one of those guys that just plays faster? Because you think that with his playmaking ability that he's a faster guy than 4.52.
Yeah, he plays faster than that. Well, plus he's a big time kickoff return guy too. So I mean, legit, he averaged over 30 yards return and kickoffs this year. And I know the competition isn't, overwhelming in that conference, but hey, he still was the best at the best, So, I think they probably his pro day he ran in the 4.4s.
Okay.
Like 4.48, 4.47, but he's got that explosive little burst to him.
What did you think about their free agent safety, DeMonte Thomas, who you thought could have gone in the 5th round? They grabbed.
God, I love him. I absolutely love him. And so, I mean, I can't now. Keep in mind, this is a guy that ran down Dalvin Cook,
That's
in
right.
the game, in the Orange Bowl. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I like, I gotta get some smelling salts.
Yeah, well, that's why you're making a good living at what you're doing, Dan. So don't complain. It's good when they don't do their job, it makes you look that much better. Okay, yeah. Kansas City, the Chiefs, and okay, here we go. Let's talk about the Chiefs. Let's talk about the move, the Patrick Mahomes move, and I couldn't imagine what you were thinking at the time. Wow. I mean, okay, the good news is he goes to the perfect quarterback teacher. Great. We have no problem with that. And maybe that is the only guy that might be able to fix a lot of the issues he has. But are we serious about drafting guys like Patrick Mahomes, number 10, as desperate as teams are for quarterbacks? I mean, even I can't believe that because I know how much you are critical of these quarterbacks. I can't even believe this guy would go to 10.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, they said, well, he had great interviews and he was very impressive and his this and his that and all that. Wait a minute. What did you look at the tape? And, I mean, this is really a projection. Hey, good athlete, good kid, no problem there. Work hard, but you got to be accurate and, don't talk about gunslinger and all that because you know what happens to gunslingers? They throw almost more interceptions than they do touchdown passes, and he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. But he also, I should say, the all-time leader in interceptions in NFL history, along with his touchdown passes, and that's Brett Favre. So
yeah, that's true.
And some guys aren't going to get that rope that Brett had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, Mahomes. I mean, they are really strong, but they have a pretty good roster there. So
yeah. That's right.
They took those picks and put it up to get him up higher, and then they gave a number 1 for next year too.
That was the thing. It wasn't. See, it was even kind of a little off if it would have just been whoever picked a 10. But the fact that they traded up and gave picks away for it really was the double whammy. What about now getting Kareem Hunt though? He went in the perfect spot, right about where we would have guessed he would have been taken, and it's not going to be a shock if he winds up being the starter as early as September.
Nope. I'll tell you what, I love him. Great contact balance. There's a guy that did it for 4 years. The thing is, he's kind of a chameleon runner. He does what he has to do. He can change his running style when he breaks through that line and he drives the legs on contact. Hey, the first guy hits him, he doesn't go down now. He might bounce out where that balance is, and then he hits the ground running. And so really like him. Total package guy. He's not a 4-4 guy, like Charles, but he is. I mean, I tell you, he gets a lot. He's not going to break those home runs, but I guess they'll use some of those other guys for home run guys. But that guy that I kind of like in this, and a lot of people don't realize this, but J.U. Chesson is a great special team player. And we had him up there higher than a lot of people, but we studied his junior film extensively along with his senior film. And, he's just getting off an injury and things, and he wasn't quite as sharp this year at times. But as a junior, this guy was a war dog now. I mean, he'd go down, he'll light you up, he can return kickoffs. I mean, he is a big timer, and they got a steal there with him.
Yeah, we knew that they needed to upgrade receiver. We talked about that, both receiver and running backs and quarterback, future quarterback. So even though you can question the trade up, they at least did pick guys that fit exactly what they needed to do, especially knowing that Hunt and Chesson could be big-time contributors for this season because Chris Conley or even Albert Wilson. I mean, those guys, those are just bodies right now. Conley has not developed the way that they would like. So if Chesson has a big camp, it wouldn't be a shock to see him playing a lot this year.
No, it wouldn't be, because I tell you, he's a tough kid. Now, I want to tell you, when you want some blocking done too, he gets in there and gets that nose dirty, boy. I mean, he'll splatter you. So
yep.
He did all those things that, unless you study the film really hard, if you just look at his stats, his receiving stats and all that this year, you'll say, okay, he's just, one of those guys. You go study the film the last 2 years, find out, man, this kid's really a player.
Now, Passignon, the kid from Villanova, what did you think? Because he was drafted probably a little bit higher than you would have taken him, and it's not a surprise because we talked a lot about how everybody seemed to be maybe infatuated with a guy like this, and they always do, especially at these smaller schools. So, what do you think about the fit at Kansas City and where he was drafted?
Well, I thought it was too strong for him, to be honest with you, because he's got a lot to learn. I mean, he's one of those guys that he can get beat, like a yard dog, and just these big guys, big tackles are going to beat him up pretty good. But we'll see how competitive he is. Like I said, he looks pretty now when he gets off the bus and all that. But you know what? He wasn't the world beater in 1AA football that he should have been for his talent. And take him 59th player in the draft, I don't know about that one. I thought that was way strong for him. I had him in the bottom of the third round, but, he's a developmental guy all the way.
Another guy that kind of, as we go to Oakland, another guy that kind of fits that, Villanova, Connecticut, they're kind of the same, but better competition, of course, with Connecticut, but that's Melifonwu. And yet the difference is that Passignon was drafted maybe a little high. Melifonwu, for the Raiders to be able to get him at 56, boy, that was nice for them. And now it's all about whether or not this Conley rape allegation is just garbage, because if it's garbage, they get themselves a heck of a 1-2 punch with those two guys at the top of their draft.
No question about it. No, I tell you what, Melifonwu, I think we're going to use him in the corner at first, and that will really be impressive,
All right, and taking a look overall, though, what did you think about the rest of the Raiders draft? I don't see any other guys down here. You tell me, which guys stuck out for you once you get past the top couple of guys?
Well, I tell you what, I think that now Eddie Vanderoos, he started coming on this year like he started playing before he got hurt at UCLA. So I think that, he'll have a chance to do something. And then Hester from Toledo will be a rotate kind of guy. They took Jalen Ware, I know he's late in the draft, but I had him as barely a camp guy. You know what I mean? He just, hey, they must have a friend at Alabama State or something, I guess. But then Hood, pretty good sized running back. He might get. He has injury history, but he's not a bad running back. And then Sharp, he got to get himself in shape. And but he's, they may use him at guard. He's a big wide body guy, like 360 something, and he's got to get in shape there. But he'll be a backup, rotate. I mean, one of those. Hey, they got a stud offensive line, and if somebody goes down, he'll be able to fit in.
All right, let's wrap up with the South teams and Jacksonville. Not a surprise that they went with the running back. They get Fournette, so he's the first running back off the board. And Cam Robinson, one of your favorite players, he went to the second round with Jacksonville, and he wasn't overdrafted. But he goes to the Jags. What did you think overall? Because they had a very good offseason with free agency and adding a lot of defenders. They added a few more defenders. Smoot was the top guy in the third round. Interesting that they D.D. Westbrook had an issue. Cam Robinson, I know how you felt about him as a player. And then even Fournette, we were kind of wondering about his makeup. So the offensive players, they're definitely rolling the dice with those guys.
Yeah, no question about it. I knew you were saying that. When you said how I like Cam Robinson.
Yeah, I was being sarcastic.
Tongue in cheek.
Yes.
Yeah, because I tell you what, the best thing he did, he was on the ground so much, I thought it was a bearskin rug, and Westbrook has got talent, but here's another guy. I mean, he makes the all, red, what do you call it, the red flag team,
yes.
And then Lawrence Robinson, so we'll see how. I don't know what kind of locker room they got there. Do they got a strong locker room? Because they're going to need it. Fournette, hey, that's going to open up things. Hey, there's no question. You're going to put people, extra guy up in the box.
Yeah, they need that. Yeah.
Box. Mm-hmm. It's going to help all those receivers. And hey, if Bortles can't do it, then he's done. You know. So, but a guy that I really liked in this draft here was Blair Brown. He's a guy that super number. I keep saying number 33 in my dreams. Just going sideline to sideline. That white uniform with green numbers. He just is all over the field. A little bit shorter than you'd like. He's hair under 6 foot, but you know what? He's a playmaker. And of course, I think another guy they stole was Jalen Myrick. Now, how can a guy that runs 4.28 go that late in the draft? You know what I mean? And plus, I know he's a little bit short, but this kid's a tough kid. He's a kickoff return guy. Very physical in his play. Can run with anybody. Anyway, I tell you what, I hope Myrick and Desmond King stick it right up somebody's whatever,
And what about Smoot? Did you think that was a little high? What do you think about him? He didn't have like a great career. He only had maybe 1 year that he played well.
Right. And then actually, they changed schemes. He's had a couple different schemes since he's been there, and they used him differently.
Okay.
Obviously he's a raw talent, but yeah, they took him a 68 pick, and I had him, the top or right, toward the top of the 4th round. So yeah, I thought it was a definite reach, and there's some other players I think they certainly could have looked at, but for some reason everybody started reaching for those defensive ends that are potential guys that are kind of fringe players.
Moving on to Tennessee, and we knew that Tennessee was on paper they're close, and they've got, hopefully for their sake, their franchise quarterback. They don't have a whole lot of holes, so we knew, and when we were hearing the rumors about them possibly trading down, now and we kind of knew why, and this was it, because their one glaring need was wide receiver. They probably wanted to trade down. They probably wanted to get Corey Davis a little bit later on. They couldn't swing the proper deal, so they took him anyway. And I don't really blame him for that in this particular draft. If you like a guy that much and you really do need a guy like that on your team, then go ahead and take him. It's just a matter of, is he the guy? But what do you think about them getting him as high as 5?
Yeah, and I'm with you. Hey, those 3 receivers went on the top 10, and they probably saw that coming, and so they end up saying, hey, if we don't take him now, he's not going to be there at 18, and he's going to be gone. So we better take him, and they did. He was their guy, and like I said, I went back and forth all fall, and then I got a guy that one of our scouts just does receivers, and he put Mike a little bit ahead of him. We got them really close together there, and Corey's been my guy, and so I can't argue that.
Okay.
You're right. They had to take him at 5. So I mean, if they wanted him, they probably had to take him at 5, and the way it worked out, they got him, and I think they got a great receiver.
And were you surprised that Adoree Jackson went as high as 18? It seemed like the same thing with Davis, that we knew they needed a corner. Logan Ryan was a nice pickup, but they lost McCourty. So they basically switched McCourty for Ryan. They needed more corners. So they liked him. They got him. He's got a lot of talent. So was that too much? Was that okay, though, right there at 18?
Well, I thought it was strong. I mean, he wasn't the 18th best player in the draft.
Sure.
But and he's not a real big guy. That's the other thing. But, they got a roll. I mean, he is an explosive guy, though. I mean, really, on returns, he's very explosive. And I understand they're going to give him work at wide receiver, too. So, along with his returning ability and all that. But, the thing that was impressive to me about their draft, Jackson was their only junior. That they, some of these teams like Miami, they took almost all juniors. New Orleans took a ton of juniors. you don't have a book on those guys.
Yeah.
At least here, you know what you got. You know, Talon Taylor, you know what he can do. And now they took some guys that you know, I were fringe guys down, you know, that I had this priority free agent guys like Callaway and the Levine kid. I guarantee you there's, you know, guards out there that, you know, would be a better choice, but hey, we'll see. So, but anyway, no. Jackson, I thought it was strong, but they got a roll. They got something in mind.
Don't you think it was a little high for Jonnu Smith, the tight end?
Oh yeah, 100. Yeah, I mean, especially with all the other tight ends out there, they stepped up and went for something. I mean, they see Walker and him, you know, but Walker's a little thicker guy and everything, but you know, Walker's getting long in tooth.
Yes, he is.
I'm sure that's why they pulled the trigger on Smith.
All right, let's go to Indianapolis, and you know, this has probably been the best offseason the Colts have had in a long time that I can remember, and it's no shock that they changed GMs, decision makers. Ballard's done a really good job bringing in veterans, especially on defense. It was no big surprise that he went ahead and drafted Hooker with his first pick, and he also added Wilson. So really good job to add more defense, and then Basham with the pass rushing ability, another Ohio tough guy. So it was a defensive offseason with free agents, and it's a defensive draft, and this is a team that needs defense. And you know what? Maybe they got their heir apparent to go at running back with Marlon Mack in the 4th round.
Yeah, I think Marlon Mack is a terrific running back. I thought that really that was a very good draft. Like you say, Hooker is good. Hey, they play a lot of press corner out there. Quincy Wilson's your guy. You know, I mean, he's a press corner. That's what he does. Basham is a pass rusher. I like Nate Hairston, who's an ascending guy. Corner from Temple, who we had at East West. Love his skill set. Zach Banner, just a wide body guy. He's gonna get some work in that offensive line. And then one of my favorite guys, Anthony Walker, they steal him, an absolute steal in the 5th round.
Yep, absolutely. You never would have seen that last year with the Colts. What about who's Grover Stewart, the 4th rounder from Albany State? Was that an okay spot for him?
Well, yeah, that was way strong. I mean, he's a big kid now. You know, he's about 6'5", 325. Plays very high. He gets driven off the ball. I don't know if they're going to give him work at a nose tackle, you know, tell him stay down or just get some push up inside. But we had him as a not even a priority free, but a free agent, you know, a strong free agent. But guys like that size, usually they'll get drafted a little bit later in the first, you know, or in the draft, or they get signed as free agents. And well, like again, here, you know, we already passed over New England. But one of my favorite nose tackles, if not my favorite nose tackle, is Augusta from Missouri. And guess where he went?
Oh, so he went to the Patriots.
Yeah, naturally. He went to the Patriots, you know. And
okay.
This guy is 365 pounds of quickness and meanness, okay, and goes to the free agent. So, I mean, why wouldn't you draft him, you know, over, you know, Indianapolis could have drafted him. And he's about twice the player Stewart is. So,
okay.
You know, but and they're going to be situation guys anyway. You know, 2-down players, things like that. But New England knows where to get these players and knows how to use them. Okay, he's in there for a play or two, get him out.
That's right.
You know, but anyway.
Yep.
Well, so
that's
right. Why they win all them world championships.
Yeah, that and Tom Brady.
So that's number one reason.
Yeah.
And Belichick's number 2.
Yeah, that's true. All right, and then finally, let's end it with Houston, and at least see if Houston's going to move up in the draft like the Kansas City Chiefs did. At least I'm happy for them that they went after Watson, and actually got him after Mahomes. So look, Watson's just a player. Meaning, what I mean, he just goes out there and he makes plays, and he may not look the part, and I get he needs work. I know that. But another situation where he goes to the right place. Bill O'Brien is a good spot for him. He's probably not going to be completely rushed into the position, but it wouldn't be a shock if he got in there at some point this year, depending on what Savage does. But this is a team that needs a quarterback, and then they could maybe win a championship. So it's not surprising that they drafted one. We just, once again, were surprised that another team moved way up to get him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And but they had a good draft. I love Cunningham, the linebacker. You know, Foreman is a big running back. He's basically a tackle-to-tackle guy. I thought that was too strong for him at 89, but you know, he's one of those big running backs. He ran good at his pro day. I like DeCoud from Oregon State because he's got those big long arms on him, hard to throw over. You know, Fuller is, you know, probably going to be a rotate guy, a practice squad guy there. But and then I'll bet you Watson was happy to see his homeboy Carlos Watkins.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you, hey, Carlos Watkins had a great national championship game, and you know, he played well throughout the year in different spots. He got better this year, so you know, they virtually stole him. There's a guy they needed to help stuff on the inside. Now, I'm not, you know, really excited about Davenport from Bucknell. I think he's going to just get his lunch eaten for him, you know, but I know that offensive line coaches like those big, rangy guys with long arms and all that stuff, but he is going to get the dog slapped out of him.
And they needed a right tackle, too. So, because
yeah.
Derek Newton, he's been too inconsistent. And, so that might be another trouble spot that they're going to have to take care of next season. But Watkins teams up with another Clemson boy, DJ Reader. So
yep.
They've got that set now inside. And, on defense, with Cunningham going there and Watkins, as long as they re-sign everybody, and I know they lost some guys, of course, Simon included, but that could be the best front seven in football because we didn't even see J.J. Watt play last year with that team.
Right, and Cunningham is a better linebacker than Simon. So, you know, that was an upgrade that they picked up and everything. So, no, I thought they did a nice job.
All right, before I let you go then, you mentioned Augusta. Was he one of your top free agents available?
Oh, he was. Yeah, I mean, we wrote him up. He was a draftable guy in our mind because when you study the film on him, I mean, this guy was 365 pounds and made plays down the field. Now, from tackle to tackle, he's super quick, long arms, and when he was at the East-West, he was virtually unblockable. He just anchored inside, and he was a huge presence in there. Then, unfortunately, he got hurt Thursday, I think, before game. And but about 3 days of practice he was a war dog. I mean, big, thick, strong. Hey, when we were in the lunchroom, I thought he was going to crush those chairs he was on, but he didn't. You know, I mean, he was. You talk about a massive, thick guy. And of course, again, he will be a freebie to the New England Patriots. And
who else? Give me another free agent or two that would have been like one of your favorites.
Oh, you hit it on the head. Another one was DeMonte Thomas.
Yeah.
You know, you knew I loved him, and outstanding player there. And of course, Carr. You know, then Carr ends up going up. He was one of my favorites. And but one thing I'll say that 100 guys now have been signed or drafted from the East-West game. And there's going to be, again, this year, there'll be 10 to 12 to 15 of those guys. They're going to make 53-man rosters that either didn't go to the combine or, you know, get drafted. And it's just a credit to, you know, how good and athletic these players are. And, I'll say another guy like Javancy Jones from Jackson State. You know, I'm trying to think where Javancy signed, but he's going to make a team. You know, a terrific linebacker. So,
okay.
You know, but anyway, we got a lot of those guys out there this year that now I was stunned that, you know, they didn't get, Collins, for instance, from TCU. He ended up signing, we had him up there in like late third, fourth round. Very athletic guy that can run and pull and do all that stuff. And I can't remember right off the top of my head again where he went, but he signed and he's going to be a good one.
Which teams in the AFC did any team stick out for you? I know you said you liked Cleveland's draft. because there were some good ones.
Indianapolis. I thought
Indianapolis. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Indianapolis. I thought Houston. I thought Jacksonville. They did some good things as long as those guys keep their nose clean. And then of course Blair Brown and like I said, Myrick will be a big thing. So yeah, no, I like that. I like the Chargers.
Yes.
We talked about that.
Yes.
I like the Chargers pick.
Pittsburgh seemed like they had a good draft. Buffalo, Denver. Yep. Those are some other teams.
Yeah, Baltimore did some good things. Buffalo, like you said, did some good things. I mean, I'm not going to beat these teams up because they know what they a lot of them draft, for certain needs. But
sure.
Denver, I love Denver because of DeMarcus Walker and Bowles, tough kid, and Butt, and
yep.
And like those,
I think at the one team in the AFC, if I had to pick out that I was a little bit unsure about, even if Raekwon McMillan plays well for them, is Miami. Because, again, Harris to me is a one-trick pony. Tankersley, I know you didn't really like that much, and I just didn't even like much of the other guys on the team. So, overall, I'm not overly impressed with the Dolphins, but you never know, of course, because Tankersley, that was a player that could have definitely been drafted a lot higher going into the season. And I know I know you were one that soured on him.
Yeah. No, he just too much of a flash guy and not as consistent as he needed to be.
Was there any team in the AFC that you were a little bit disappointed with, or not particularly?
I understand why teams took certain guys. I mean, hey, I have no holler about Cincinnati. I want to tell you something. If Mixon keeps his nose clean, they had a great draft, with Willis and Ross and Lawson if he stays healthy. Evans, inside linebacker, who didn't get a lot of, accolades this year, but played well for Oklahoma. Glasgow, tough guy. So, and the Shrek tight end. He caught everything up at Buffalo. And then we got a good friend at Houston and the secondary coach there, and he really thinks Brandon Wilson is going to be an ascending player. He said he's got better and better every week there this past year. So, and they got a good one there, So, I think that
if I had to,
a lot of teams, at least on surface, look good.
If I had to pick a team though that because I know every team has some players you like. So let's just say if I limited to first and second pick. I think for you would it be the Chiefs, Mahomes and Passignon with their first two picks?
Yeah, that didn't shoot me in the behind, no.
Okay. All right. I wanted to get you to say something bad about somebody's draft. Yeah. Be a little bit critical because, but not that you ever hold back. Okay, so NFC's tomorrow, so we'll get into that. And what's next for our lads? Is the draft review next, or you have another newsletter next?
No, draft review will be next. And of course, that will come out after the OTAs because, we want to see how they're going to play these guys. Is Deion Dawkins for Buffalo going to go inside? Or who they're going to put out there at right tackle. Maybe it ends up being Dawkins, but want to see where teams place. Hey, where is Jabril Peppers going to play? Is he going to play that weak side linebacker? We want to see what happens in OTAs and how these guys use that. Is the ones don't have, most of the guys on the West Coast, their class graduates later, so they don't get to participate in OTAs, which is absolutely crazy, but that's the rule. So, but for the most part, we'll get to see and how much and how well these guys are progressing and just to see where the teams play them after they drafted them and see what their role will be on that team.
And when's that going to be? When do OTA?
We usually get that out at the end of May or early June, but whenever the OTAs are over.
And they're going to start in a couple of weeks. The OTAs.
Yeah,
okay.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So we'll be on top of that. But again, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll do the NFC. And I know, of course, you're just getting back from being down in the submarine for months and then traveling to Philadelphia. And then, of course, you got a whole bunch of other personal things that have been it's sort of like, when teams go on these road trips in sports and then they come back home for the first few days, they're still kind of on the road. That's where you're at right now. Right? You're still on the road, even though you're at home.
Yep.
All right, Dan, appreciate it. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks a million, Greg.
You got it. That's Dan Shonka, and Don't forget you can follow Dan on Twitter at rlads_Shanka. And then tomorrow, NFC, we'll do the same format. I think we're going to start with Arizona tomorrow. I think that's what we're doing. Okay, so there you go. I think we're going to have a show. I haven't checked my email because we're supposed to schedule a show at 5 to talk NHL and baseball. So I have to confirm that, so don't quote me. But maybe that's coming up at 5 o'clock. If whether it does or not, we'll be back tomorrow at 2 for NFC draft talk, and then that's it for our lads 2017 draft. We'll definitely have a lot more football coverage coming up with Dan. We've got some. I've said this for months now. We're working on putting together our football network. So as you can tell, just from what I just said to Dan, now is not the time to move on with any of that stuff. But we're going to get to it real soon, and we'll hopefully be able to let you know more about that in about a month. So, but Jan will join me next week as well to give his evaluation player by player, as well as free agent pickups for the Jets, rookie free agent pickups for the Jets on Jets Confidential Radio. So we'll let you know when that is next week. Okay. So we'll talk to you tomorrow on this show. Again, maybe 5 o'clock today on the sports section to talk hockey and baseball. We will also on Friday only have one show. That's going to be the Prime Sports Horse Report as we preview the Kentucky Derby. And that'll do it. So for Dan Shanka, I'm Greg DePalma. Thanks for tuning in to Our Lads Guide to the 2017 NFL Draft. We'll see you tomorrow.